So we begin game number 1 to decide who is the greatest Starcraft 2 player in the year 2017. Introducing our players in the upper left, in the blue, he is SoO! And his opponent here in the bottom right, in the red, make some noise for Rogue!
This first game, oh so crucial. How will they both open? Looks like Rogue going for a pretty safe opening. Not a hatchery first, but not really a rush build either here.
That's right. If you're unfamiliar with StarCraft 2, ZVZ is played on an ice edge. Any mistakes made early on, especially when banelings come into play, can result in an immediate loss. So you have to be very ready for everything. There are so many tricks and techniques on hiding banelings here or there, or running Zerglings past them, or hiding them in the main to try to punish your opponent. Any drone kills you get are way more important than they are in many of the other matchups in StarCraft 2.
Well, Zerglings and Banelings can really tip the game into your favor or against you so quickly. And of course, both of these players with such high level, great micro, that if they do get that edge, they will not be letting it go.
Coming into this game, the Overlords are going to be sent out here to be used to try to spot any lings or anything that could be sent around the map. Of course, they already know each other's starting locations, but it can be deceptive when you have Overlords moving out on the map. You might think, well, surely I have more intel. This is oftentimes exploited in high-level ZVZ because players memorize each other's Overlord scout patterns, try to send lings around that, or show a few lings in front of those Overlords when in fact there are many more banked somewhere else. So there's always a bit of a poker game in early ZVZ.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because certainly you shouldn't just look on your Overlord because everyone will dodge those in the early game if there is a rush. Now here we do see that Zergling speed is on the way for Rogue. He's making some extra Zerglings. He's getting a Baneling nest. So we definitely could see a bit of aggression coming out of him. Meanwhile, SoO with a very quick layer.
That's right. A layer coming up that quick means he's not going to have any Banelings or Ling speed right away to help defend. Remember, Lings with speed will always beat Lings without speed. It's not just a matter of how quickly they get there. They're able to engage much faster.
Oh, a lot of Zerglings being made right now by Rogue. It looks like he wants to get extremely aggressive here against SoO. SoO, of course, is just sitting here making a lot of drones.
As we move on, these lings are going to go ahead and head forward. They're now going northbound right now. Now, SoO does see these lings. This means this is not an attempt to try to disguise what's actually happening, but he's coming here from the top with these two banelings. SoO now scrambling, trying to get a wall in.
Oh, it looks like he's going to go ahead and wall this in. He has his queens up the front, but so many Zerglings coming up right now. Will he be able to break through? This is a crucial timing from Rogue.
He's trying to back the queens up and just make sure they can't break through. The queen over here to the right does go down, allowing the rest of the lings to now spill in.
Oh, the Banelings connecting a little bit here. Rogue pushes forward with his Zerglings, knocks out these queens. A huge Baneling connection, and Rogue goes for the drones.
2 drones down so far. As you can see, the Lynx now beginning to loop around here. The Lynx now coming up on into the main. If you can get just a few more drones, it's going to be quite impactful. Keep in mind, right now, it's 29 drones to 33 drones here for Rogue. Rogue in the lead.
Yeah, Rogue does have a slight advantage there, but SoO has his tech up. He's going for roaches. Roach speed, getting that +1 attack. So if he can hold on and not take too much economic damage, then he is going to be very strong in the mid game.
Okay, it looks like that last Ling is now looping around here. Really more of a scout at this point in time than anything else. He's cleared that up. Rogue is trying now to take a third base. Keep in mind, SoO is on the defense. He had to get that wall in, get everything set up to hold that. So Rogue's hoping he can eke out an expansion from this point on.
Really cool play coming up from Rogue right now, getting that +1 carapace, going into the Roach Warren as well as his own layer. He realizes he definitely needs to get some upgrades if he's going to be able to fight head-to-head against SoO and his upgraded Roaches.
Now, of course, there's always a couple options here. Do you want to try to play more of a defensive game and last? In this case, for somebody like SoO, try to get your tech up and then do some kind of a timing. It looks like that's what we're going to be seeing here from SoO in just a little bit as missile attacks is on the way. Rogue now wants to try to set up and get a good defensive posture, so he's going to be okay. SoO also squeezing out another base as he sees that Rogue is going to sit back as well.
Okay, with those third bases coming up, the game could slow down a little bit, but we see quite a few roaches being made by Rogue. Of course, his roach speed going to be a lot later. Also, his +1 carapace only halfway done, whereas SoO is going to get his +1 attack finished up. A very good upgrade in Roach vs. Roach.
That's right. We have a similar tech as far as what units are going to be going for the Roaches, but certainly different upgrades. You got to keep in mind with the missile attack, you can get a little bit more Roach harass off more effectively, so that you can come in there and hit workers here and there. Whereas with the Roach armor upgrade, you're going to have a little bit more beef if the Roaches go head to head.
That is certainly true. Now with that Roach speed, SoO coming out, moving across the map right now. Looks like he wants to get aggressive, but just taking a look at what SoO is doing, he's making roaches at the same time. If you have a similar number of roaches and you get attacked, you're not likely to be broken. Your hatcheries are so close, your units are joining the battle very quickly.
SoO doesn't have any other angle of attack, so he's going to come in here, and actually Rogue, if he lets him come in too far, could actually come and get a surround. Looks like SoO just testing the waters. He does dive forward now with a few lings in the front here, beginning to damage those roaches, but Rogue is aware he has higher numbers and dives in, forcing SoO back.
Okay, SoO has to retreat for the time being, starting another upgrade as well. Look at this. These guys are so in sync right now. Both of them turning back on the drone production at the drop of a hat, and then back into some roaches, making sure they're not being too greedy.
So for the time being, it's Rogue with just a minor worker lead, but that could change very quickly here. As the game goes on, SoO now having his third base up and running does get that drone transfer done. And it looks like, for now, we're going to have it be Roach versus Roach until somebody feels comfortable enough to tech out of it or tech around it.
Well, will somebody feel comfortable enough to do that going forward? Are you going to have time to throw down something like Aspire? Will you be able to go for Infestors? It's hard to say.
Really nice play there by SoO. Gooping that evolution chamber is going to slow down the upgrades. And of course, in Roach versus Roach, upgrades are going to be everything. There's not that many other ways you can get an advantage in that. So having that slowed down is a great approach here by SoO.
You know, especially considering SoO has those attack upgrades, whereas it's a carapace that we have over on Rogue's side. The attack upgrades just a bit more beneficial in this matchup. Now, in the meantime, Rogue is adding a Hedgeless Den and immediately into a Lurker Den. So I am loving this play out of Rogue. He's one of the few Zergs that will absolutely go towards Lurkers if he's playing against Mass Roach.
And Rogue, when Rogue does this, it doesn't have to be just for defense. You can actually come in with Lurker pushes. Keep in mind on a map like this, it's a lot of valleys. So if you have a lot of damage coming in one direction, it's very hard for the other player to ever win that fight. There's no real way to actually micro around that.
You're quite right, but look at the amount of roaches coming out of SoO right now. He has a gigantic army moving forward now, going after those rocks, and even gooping the evolution chamber once again.
Very nicely done. He's gearing up for an attack down here, trying to deny the fourth base. Coming in here before a cancel could possibly occur. No, the Roach is here from Rogue, beginning to dive in, and it is taken down. Beautifully done there by SoO.
Oh, and he's getting on top of all of these roaches. There's Hydras in the back, putting out a huge amount of damage here for Rogue. He's just got to hold on for now until he gets to those Lurkers, but SoO continues to rally in.
The time and attack might be too strong. SoO is pushing in. Too many roaches now, dividing the army from the hatchery. The drones being used to try to defend.
SoO's macro completely out of control. Rogue trying to hold on with every fiber of his being, but unable to do so. GG. SoO takes game number 1.
Very impressive play here. He's one step closer to becoming a victor. And now we will see what happens in game number 2.
All right, that is a great first victory coming out of SoO. Definitely what he needed. You know, that first game, when you get that victory, it puts your opponent onto the back foot. Yes, it's a best of 7. Yes, there's plenty of time for Rogue to come back. But SoO now has this little edge, this little advantage, and being the player that seemingly always gets second place, I feel like this is the mental edge he needed.
You're absolutely right, but of course that's why we have so many games in a series like this, is we have to make sure, is it truly the best player? And again, with SoO being here so many times, I am still afraid history could repeat itself.
You're definitely right about that. Rogue has time to come back right now. See, he seems to me to be a little bit shaken there. You know, he had an okay opening. He did that little Zergling Baneling attack, killed a bunch of queens, but didn't get the economic damage. He then thought that the game was just going to slow down a whole lot. You know, he was trying to get up into lurkers, but SoO hitting his stride with his macro, able to overrun him.
It was really a story of one player trying to play a more developed game, a more complete game, ZVZ, and that was Rogue trying to tech up, trying to become more sophisticated, whereas SoO, with laser-like focus, coming in with a timing attack to deny exactly that, to punish a player who tries to go into a deeper route. He knows his strengths and the way he can set up certain engagements, can shut down somebody. And I'm not even saying Rogue played greedy. Honestly, it was a pretty clean tech, but SoO decisively came in there. That many roaches comboed with denying the upgrades there on the Evolution Chamber. That's all it takes. And now we will go into game number 2 in the WCS Global Finals, Starcraft 2. We are going to decide by the end of today who is the greatest Starcraft 2 player in the world. Introducing our players in the bottom right, in the blue. Make some noise for SoO! And his opponent here in the upper left, the last player to squeeze into the WCS Global Finals. He is Rogue!
Rogue once again with the relatively safe gas and pool opening. This could mean that we'll see another attack like we saw previously against SoO in the mid game. But as far as the early game goes, generally you can't get much damage done unless you go for your pool right away, like before the first Overlord that you make.
That's right. Again, this is a map where they know each other's starting locations, so there's not really any randomness when you're trying to scout with the Overlords. It's really a matter of where do you feel like you need to set them up in order to optimize the amount of information without that information being exploited, because again, ZVZ early on can be a bit of a poker game with what you're really revealing to your opponent.
Yeah, and you know, to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that 2 games so far, this is 4 ZVZ build orders. We haven't seen a true Zergling rush come out of either side yet. And as far as the Korean Zerg versus Zerg scene goes, it's pretty common.
That's right. It certainly is. We have over here Rogue now going for Ling speed with those Lings hatching up now. SoO's hatchery near completion now with Lings just now starting. We want to keep an eye on how many drones versus Lings SoO is going to make, since defense is going to be most important right now.
Well, just 6 Lings going across the map here for Rogue. SoO making a couple queens, making a couple of Lings. So as long as he micros well, he'll be all right. He'll be able to hold on. But look at that, 4 more Lings being made for Rogue. Is he going to turn on the aggression once again?
Aggression like this can be a double-edged sword. If you get in there and do enough damage, you're almost assured to win. But of course, if your opponent defends, you are making Zerglings instead of drones, which means you don't have an economy.
It is so true. Something you have to be very careful of. The Zerglings starting to come in right now. The drones being pulled, helping to fight. The queen pops out, and the Zerglings retreat, but just for now, more Lings being made. Zergling speed almost done, and now a Baneling nest coming along here for Rogue.
Note how he's banked more Zerglings in his main. These are the Lings he's not showing, while freely moving the Zerglings in the middle of the map here to try to give SoO false information about the direction in which this game is going. SoO right now in the dark. He's going to have a matter of seconds to gear up defense as this attack is now moving out.
This is a huge amount of Zerglings running right under the Overlords, so SoO knows he's making a lot of Zerglings himself here. The poking begins from Rogue, and SoO is making as many Lings as he can.
He's got the ramp clogged with the queens, but there might be too many Zerglings coming down here now, surrounding the drones, trying to defend. Meanwhile, the queens getting about half health before they're driven out. So far, So good here for SoO. He survived the first attack.
He has a lot of his own Zerglings popping out now as well. His Zergling speed finishes, but those two Banelings that are morphing are going to be super dangerous right now. Look at that. They're about to come out of their eggs. Here we go. Rogue coming in for another attack.
Big connect there by Rogue. One more Baneling still inside. Could be used to zone out those lings, but instead is detonated. One Queen does go down. The ramp has been breached. Rogue is continuing to spill in, and I don't know if SoO has enough to defend.
SoO in a lot of trouble. His Queen's going down. His drone's going down. His Zergling's going down as well. Rogue might be able to overwhelm him and win this game right here.
The Lings spilling in, Banelings as well. Nothing here to defend the main as the remaining workers are slowly killed off.
More Banelings coming up. SoO trying his best to hold on. 15 drones, 16 drones going down. His economy in shambles, and GG. SoO being taken out, and Rogue ties up the series 1-1.
Beautiful play there, evening this out, proving it's still anybody's game. A very decisive victory, playing around late game tech, identifying that especially at a natural like that, it's not easy to defend.
No, it is very hard indeed when you get that many Zerglings out. You have to have either a wall off with evolution chambers, maybe some spine crawlers, you know, maybe your own Banelings to help hold that off, but SoO didn't really have much. He was having to fight with his drones over and over again.
Going into game number 3 here, remember, in a series like this, each game you play is giving your opponent a little bit more information. I thought that was a great way for Rogue to approach this. He was going against what his reputation was, what really allowed him to earn his position here in the WCS Global Finals, going for that decisive win and shutting SoO down. I'm curious to see if SoO is going to bring us, in a reaction to this, maybe a little bit more of a conservative game.
Yeah, it's really a good question. You know, Interloper, one of our kind of smaller maps, so I see why Rogue did that there. As we get into some of the really large maps, things like Ascension to Ire, Zergling rushes are going to be a little bit harder to pull off, but for that reason, your opponent might not expect them.
We are almost into game number 3 now. The map will be Mech Depot.
Yes, Mech Depot, it definitely can be a hard map to rush on. It's pretty long, especially before you get any rocks taken down. But of course, Zerglings are fast. When you get that speed upgrade, they can zip right across that map and keep the pressure on. What will we see out of these two players? Of course, the next victory bringing you up to that 2-1, halfway there to a World Championship victory.
So much pressure. Starcraft 2, a game that's over 7 years old. These guys have been playing since the very beginning. Of course, they had histories in Brood War. They are both now at the peak of their esports career, a career that's basically been their entire lives as gamers. And we are now ready to go into game number 3. This is SoO versus Rogue, a fight to decide who is the WCS Global Champion. In the bottom left, in the blue, make some noise for SoO! In the upper right, in the red, his opponent, he is Rogue!
We'll see what these guys want to open with here early on. Could just be the hatchery first play. That's what it's looking like. Both sides deciding to expand. Still no very early game Zergling rushes, but just because you go for a quick hatchery does not mean you're not going to get aggressive right away.
That's right. So in this case, we have two players bringing things into the same direction. So it's very important to watch the production tab and see if there are any major deviations in how they're teching up. Because in ZVZ, even though a lot of times you can start out doing the same, doing different things and end up in the same spot, it can be quite interesting when you have two people doing something quite opposite. And this is cool, actually. All right, I wasn't sure if we were going to see this. It is going to be 3 hatch. I went ahead and finished the mirrored build thought, but it turns out, in fact, yes, he is going to go for a third hatchery down here. This is SoO actually trying to call Rogue's bluff.
Yeah.
He's saying there's no way you're going to do this in game 3. And because you're not going to do it, I'm going to take a third base, and I'm going to, in a way, economically cheese you out of this game.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're seeing here. Definitely, it's a risky strategy from SoO, but against what Rogue is doing, which is a hatchery first into a standard spawning pool, he's not really going to take damage from this. By the time any attacks come down, he'll have queens coming out, his own Zerglings as well, and that just gives SoO a lot more to work with early on. A lot more larva, more vision on the map, more production.
So there's a couple choices right now for Rogue. He has to decide, does he want to try to expand with his opponent, or perhaps does he want to try to punish SoO for taking these two bases? When you look on the map, the second base and the third base are quite far away from each other. And that means it's not easy for SoO to defend. In fact, this may be why Rogue is not anticipating this move here from SoO.
Yeah.
Remember, queens are very slow off creep, so the fact that they're separated like that means that if Rogue, or excuse me, rather SoO over defends in one location, Rogue can hit the other.
Yeah.
And there's not much it can do to recuperate.
Now, what do you think about this, Tasteless? They are doing such different strategies. We see SoO, of course, with the quick 3 hatcheries, getting the Baneling Nest, the speed upgrade. But in the meantime, Rogue is going into a lair. He's getting a Roach Warren. Is he just going to go for +1 speed roaches, or could we see something else?
It's going to be interesting because right now, if he does try to come in with that, there's only going to be a window of time in which it's going to work. We have SoO now chasing away these few lings here by Rogue, and 10 more lings coming up here for SoO. Now, here's what's funny about this, Artosis. It has a feel of econ to it, what SoO's doing, but the intention is actually almost to use that additional hatchery to make his opponent feel a little bit more comfortable in general. He wants to pounce. Rogue has to turtle up. It looks like he's doing that, but he's also getting a Nidus network. So if he holds off the initial attack coming here from SoO, Rogue is going to have a subway system going in, possibly even to the main of his opponent, and that could completely turn this game upside down, and SoO could lose.
This is crazy on both sides. A lot of Banelings being morphed right now by SoO. He is going for it. He wants to get a quick kill this game. Of course, Rogue going for his own cheese. We'll see if he can hold on here. He has a tight wall with the roaches coming out, but those Banelings are coming in.
The transfuses go down to try to buy time. The two queens still remain. One more taken out. The remaining lings and the Bane do spill in. Does he have enough roaches? It appears he does.
SoO forced back for the time being. The Nidus going down in SoO's base. Now he has to rally all of his units over here. It comes up. Roaches popping out. Does SoO have enough to hold on?
As the roaches continue to pour out of the Nidus, the queens are being targeted down. The lings do going for the surround. The one queen off creep cannot be microed away.
Oh, it looks like he's going to be able to surround all these roaches, maybe take them all out. More roaches coming out and joining, but that's a lot of lings, and Rogue retreats through the Nidus.
Beautiful play here by SoO, shutting down the Nidus play. Rogue now, as far as tech goes, not with a lot of options, actually scrambling to try to get ahead.
In the meantime, all these lings flooding across the map. A big army for SoO, but with that choke, with that wall off, will SoO actually be able to do anything here?
The lings are going to go ahead and back up for the time being. Keep in mind, even though SoO didn't utilize the third base right away, he still has it now. It's droned up. It is a burden for Rogue to figure out a solution. His solution, he says, is going to be an attack to Spire.
Oh, this is really an interesting play from Rogue. To go from a Nidus that kind of fails, doesn't really do that much, and then into a Spire. He's staying on 2 bases for an almost dangerous amount of time.
Lings now coming up here for SoO. I don't believe SoO has any need to try to attack in, but these lings can be leveraged to counterattack. He's going to check and make sure there's nothing else at the third bases. He's poking in to try to identify, is there any text showing, any text sticking out at the front? And Rogue this is tough. I actually really feel this game going for SoO. I'm not sure what even exactly Rogue can do from this point on. He's behind in bases. The tech for Rogue isn't going to kick in for a little bit. SoO has got to be very comfortable right now.
I definitely agree with you on that. He's got a ton of production on his side and complete map control with such a large amount of Zerglings. But as this Spire comes up, some of that control is going to go back to Rogue. He's going to be able to pick off Overlords, be able to hit on any Zerglings that are trying to attack him as well, and that should open up enough room for Rogue to get his third base.
And that's the most important thing at this point in time. And sometimes in a StarCraft 2 match, you really do have to take it one step at a time. It's not always a grandiose strategy. It's what scenario am I in? How am I going to get out of it? Or how am I going to capitalize on it? In this case, he has to get that third base up. Otherwise, the economic engine of SoO is going to be too strong.
Oh my god, a Hydralisk Den. So we've had Roaches, a Nidus, a Spire with Mutas, now a Hydralisk Den, all off of 2 bases for Rogue, showing us such a diverse range of strategies. Now coming out with these Mutas, we finally see that Hydralisk Den added for SoO as defense.
We see Rogue taking that hatchery. Note, he took the hatchery in the location where the first Overlord was killed. I think SoO already suspects that's where he's expanding to. He's now systematically wiping out stray Overlords in the map that gives SoO any extra intel. That's one advantage with going for Mutalisks. You can deny any intel from your opponent on the map.
A bunch of Lings coming around trying to see where is this third base. He spots it, but with the Roaches and Mutas there, decides not to attack currently. Meanwhile, Rogue going once again for that Lurker Den. The question is, can he get that up and online? Can he get enough Lurkers to survive the next big attack from SoO?
The Lings now being chased away rather, by these Mutas. Although these Lings are faster than the Mutas at least keep the threat for SoO to try to stay back. He has to be defensive, and he's not going to keep teching on Mutas. As you can see, he's going to try to tech into Hydras, into Lurkers. He has to get something solid to respond to this huge and growing Roach number for SoO. Also, SoO may try to go for a timing. He may see a window here, and I think it's sizing up to be that, looking at the differences in the supply. He may try to come in here with a cutthroat move and knock Rogue into game 4.
Well, I think that's exactly what the plan is, and it's a good plan from SoO. But Rogue is doing the only thing that might be able to hold on. If he can get some Lurkers out in position, the Lurkers just absolutely destroy Roaches and Hydralisks. It'll be very difficult for SoO to finish him off.
Of course, if he can get into the right angle, because Rogue, he is on the defense now. If he can get in the right angle and go around that defense, possibly get into the main, try and hit drones there, pulling some of those Roaches or Hydras, which are quite slow off creep back, that's another opportunity. Okay, so the Lurker tech has started, but at that exact moment, SoO is moving out on the map.
Can SoO get in there before the Lurkers are morphed? It does not look that way. A few Hydras joining him as well. Looks like he might knock down these rocks for a more frontal approach, but those 5 Lurkers can come down to that choke, and the Roaches shouldn't be able to break through.
It also looks like Rogue is going to be able to shut down the base on the center left before this attack starts. Here we go. He's moving in now, but the Lurker's in a great position. Deny an angle of attack there for SoO.
Now this is really difficult for SoO to get this victory here. He's going to keep running around with his units. He has a much bigger army, a much stronger army, but if Rogue can keep tabs on it and move into position, it's going to be hard for him to break.
As you can see, SoO trying to nudge in. Now with the Ravagers, he can start to try to damage these areas where there's nothing able to move. He slowly inches in. Corrosive Biles being fired out. Great connection there.
Crazy micro coming out of Rogue, unburrowing, running away with his Lurkers as the Biles rain down. The Lurkers dealing huge amounts of damage to SoO's army, and he has to turn around.
SoO still with more supply, coming in with a counterattack. Once again, Rogue shuts it down. Muta's now beginning to damage the rest.
Such technical play out of Rogue, a true master of big tech in Zerg vs. Zerg, showing us how it's done. SoO almost confused about how to win this game from here.
You can see he had a plan, but Rogue had an answer. He's been able to stop him at every turn. Rogue now opening up that base on the center right. SoO scrambling to keep up with expands down here in the bottom center.
You know, SoO had that additional base for so long, but now with the 4th base coming up more quickly for Rogue, Rogue having superior tech as well, we have to consider Rogue to be the leader in this game. SoO is going to have to do something special to come back from here, but we see he continues to just produce Roaches and Hydras.
Rogue, he's doing the quintessential Rogue play, bringing us into a later part of the game, showing that he has more experience, and now we have a Nidus Worm coming in here. SoO realizing that perhaps, Rogue realizing that perhaps his opponent might have been a little bit too greedy. He can now come in here and punish the main.
I don't think SoO saw this. Nothing is here. Nothing's ready. But nothing
nothing's
goes through
going
the
in.
Nidus. He
Mosanto-
called that bluff. Oh my!
So he actually completely feigned the attack there, pulling SoO's army back because I think SoO now realizing, oh, wait a minute.
It's like, oh yeah, there's a Nidus. Yeah, no, I knew you weren't going to use that. That's
So-
how smart these two players
Well,
are.
it's so intelligent because it's so cheap to do, and it forces SoO, who's been scrambling on the map, trying to force Rogue to reposition to evacuate back to his main. Meanwhile, Rogue, if we can get a shot of the center right on the map here, has completely set up this base and is now in a very good position.
Yeah, a lot of upgrades on the way, but we also see from SoO, he's teching up, getting that lurker den, getting the infestation pit so that he too can go up into the hive tech. And when it gets to be lurker versus lurker, well, that's when Zerg versus Zerg gets very, very weird.
He's once again doing it. And by the way, Rogue can do this the whole game. This Nidus network is in such a secure position, it's probably not going to be taken out unless Rogue is completely destroyed. So Rogue can continue to flirt with the idea of possibly invading the main here, and it's going to force a good chunk, in this case SoO's using the bare minimum, calling his bluff. He forces him to keep some of his supply back here defending.
I love this play by Rogue that he just keeps popping up the Niduses, and he keeps on not using them. You know what's going to happen? Nidus number 5 is going to come up, and he's going to think nothing comes out.
Yeah.
No, the whole army into the main base.
Exactly. SoO itching to try to come in here and attack. Rogue once again expanding. The map is being more and more occupied here. Keep in mind, we don't have endless expansions on this. Eventually, it's going to come down to 1 or 2 expansions on the map they have to fight over.
Oh man, with that Greater Spire on the way right now, we can see Rogue go into Broodlords. Broodlords are almost ultimate tech in ZVZ, but eventually we could see just a massive Viper war on both sides over lurkers. Yes, you heard me right. That's what we might end up seeing here in this CVZ.
SoO coming in now, easily shutting down Rogue. Rogue sacking this expansion, saying he doesn't want to give him any position. One lurker gunned down. We see Overseers are over here now. The lurker's on the run. Big win by SoO. Again, although Rogue has very impressive tech, SoO has kept him boxed in this entire game.
SoO starting to attack from all sides here. Lurkers walking down, burrowing up. But actually a big spread coming out from SoO, landing some corrosive biles here and there, knocking them out, and starting to deal a lot of damage.
We see the lurkers trying to scramble in here and get to the main. Rogue now coming into the natural, cutting down the Roach War, and it will go down.
A big kill right there, but on the other side of the map, expansion's starting to fall for Rogue. Can he hold on? A lot of units being made on both sides. It looks like SoO going to go ahead and try to remax here with Roaches and Hydras, but will he have enough to break through? All of these lurkers coming up, the spines coming out, but SoO trying to break through with the flank.
We see that Rogue may have in fact outmaneuvered SoO, coming in here doing so much damage, it's not clear that he'll be able to recover. Rogue ahead in supply. SoO just unable to come back and do anything on that side of the map, but at the same time, SoO with the bottom right base still secure. Rogue might try to come in here for a killing blow. That's really what SoO has to hang on and survive.
Well, he does have those 3-2 upgrades. Massive upgrade advantage right now for Rogue as he walks forward, getting on top of these Hydras. SoO losing very expensive units, a big part of his army here, but still rallying down quite a few.
Rogue is not finished yet. He's continuing to cause chaos throughout the bases here. 2 Rogues up here denying mining. Meanwhile, Rogue splitting up those Roaches so it's harder to catch them.
Couple Roaches harassing that hatch as well, I guess. This game has turned just completely weird. We see that Rogue definitely still at an advantage here. He's killed a bunch of bases, he has good supply, he has tons of tech at home, and of course, superior upgrades.
You can see now, as these things have slowed down slightly, Rogue has been mushed into the upper right side of the map. He's trying to expand out again. SoO took a beating. Even though it looks like there's a lot of blue on the mini-map, and there is, he doesn't quite have the same kind of army. It doesn't have the same threat that Rogue does, and Rogue is fully aware of that. So even though Rogue looks tinier on the map, he's taking advantage of that with a powerful army, and once again pushing in.
And I love that he's adding some Vipers right now. Vipers with Blinding Cloud can do so much against a Roach Hydra army. to just kind of make it so that they cannot attack you. You get better surface area immediately. And of course, Abduct, fantastic against lurkers.
It looks like Rogue is continuing to just harass a few drones here. Right now, the worker count 47 to 47. So as far as mining goes, they're basically even. Rogue still with a slightly bigger army, and it looks like he wants to come in now. Entering into the south, these Vipers are going to be very handily in this battle as well. Let's see if he waits for those Vipers to merge in with the rest of this army and then pounce on the south.
Well, I definitely think that's what we're going to be seeing. In the meantime, just a couple Roaches harassing that expansion to the side. Rogue positioning himself for a big attack. Does SoO realize where this will come in from? It's difficult. He doesn't get to decide that.
As the game moves on, Rogue trying to edge in. If he can get this hatchery, that would be huge. It's an easy attack, but SoO seems to have enough defense. There we go, harpooning out the lurkers to try to drop that defense. Excellent job, but SoO with a brilliant concave has Rogue overextended. Rogue trying to resituate, and SoO defends.
Wow, great spell casting going on. A blinding cloud falls as well on the army of SoO. Rogue standing here trying to fight, but this huge army from SoO punching forward, making him retreat.
Meanwhile, up in the north, Rogue expanding again. The upper left quadrant of the map, not touched by either player, but eventually both Rogue and SoO will have to expand over there as well. We have SoO now coming in, doing so much damage. This hatchery, it doesn't have enough defense. If it goes down, Rogue economically will be in huge trouble.
A bunch of lurkers coming up and brewing as well, so it's going to be very hard to attack into this. He's going to need more Vipers, more Abducts to clear it out, but SoO kills the base in a matter of seconds.
SoO is pulling the trigger, coming forward now. He can divide the third base from the second. He's continuing to spill in, and GG! SoO takes game number 3.
A ridiculously awesome game from both sides. Rogue threw absolutely everything at SoO, and somehow, some way, this beast of a macro Zerg holds on, defending against Nidus, against Mutalisk, against Lurkers, against Vipers, everything that you can think of.
It was a really scary position there for Rogue for a little bit. He had a really powerful army, but then SoO, with these timing attacks, he knows exactly how to get in and do that damage. Really, really impressive showing from SoO. But let's not forget the curse, Artosis. Let's not forget the fact that these players, or excuse me, this player is someone who has been to the finals so many times and has been unable to pull through with a victory.
Well, now he's up 2-1. He's halfway there. If he can take down 2 more maps, that monkey will be off his back forever.
Unbelievable, man. SoO, with a game that was really, I thought, in a sense, the way that we understand Rogue, one that, Rogue should win. SoO actually did it. He managed to win a late-game epic ZVZ against somebody like Rogue. I think that means he can do anything. He just has to win a few more games, and he is the champion.
Oh, man, it is crazy right now, but I think Rogue is going to buckle down. He plays such an interesting style. Can he hold on against the monster that's SoO?
We'll be right back in a little bit here with the WCS Global Finals. Stay tuned.
Starcraft 2 to determine the world champion.
Great. Very different. Could have straight up.
4-9 lead being on match.
Is here in the upper right, in the red. He is Rogue.
Game number 4, a crucial game. Does Rogue tie it up at 2-2, or does SoO take that just crazy lead, being on match point for the rest of the match? We have to see the absolute best Rogue has out of him right here, right now.
That's right. Note the Overlord scouting position. SoO setting his first Overlord here to the south, going to a starting location where his opponent is not, whereas Rogue has his Overlord headed over here to where the natural of SoO is expanding. So Rogue going to get a little bit of intel early on. That is impactful in a ZVZ. Any information you get right off the bat, it can help you tailor a build to what you want to have happen in this game.
You certainly are right about that, but luckily for SoO, they're doing pretty much the exact same opening strategy. A quick hatchery, followed up by gas and spawning pool, just kind of making some drones and getting their economy online without being too greedy, like we saw from SoO in the last game.
That's right. The pool is going to finish just a little bit ahead here for SoO, but since right now the builds seem to be mirroring each other, it should not be too impactful at this point in time. The only thing we can really watch for is to see if there's a large number of Zerglings that are suddenly made. The few that are made in the initial point are really just there to try to clean up any scouts for a few defensive measures. You can always use one lane to run into their main to try to scout around. But here's what we're looking for right now. Rogue with 8 lings, 10 lings now on the way.
Yeah, he's going to pull these lings for a bit because he just started Zergling speed. And without that speed upgrade being done, there's just no way you're going to get damage done with Zerglings that are this late. So how many lings will SoO make? When will he find out that Rogue's plan, once again, for the 3rd time, is to mass lings and attack in the mid-game?
The layer now coming up here for SoO. Let's not forget, we've seen stellar defense from SoO here before, but Rogue, again, look at where those lings are located. Up there in the upper right, just there. That's just not a location that SoO is necessarily going to see anything. He's going to pull them up to a good amount and then beeline them all the way to SoO's base. And if SoO is just a few lings or a queen position behind, he will lose the game.
Can he wall in time? Will he have a Baneling nest? It's all very hard to say. And with that speed upgrade almost done, with no creep up to the ramp, this is looking a little bit hairy right now for SoO. He's checking up that layer, is about to finish. He's going for the Roach Warren and Evolution Chamber. But now here we go, a lot of lings. He sees them quite quickly with those 2 Zerglings. SoO starting to wall in, trying to get a full wall off here.
The lings now coming down. He has to have this walled off enough to buy time for defense of his own. The lings now coming in, only 2 queens here to try to hold this position.
SoO in a lot of trouble. The lings going right after these queens. The 3rd queen coming from the top, getting some damage in, but the lings come in and surround the queens.
The next queen goes down. The drone's taking too much damage. An attempted block of the ramp, but it's just not enough.
So many drones going down the queen as well.
GG! The shortest game of the series so far, evening this out.
A crucial moment for Rogue to pick up a victory. He ties up our series 2-2 and shows that he is willing to attack you time and again with Zerglings, regardless of whether or not it worked previously.
Nicely done. This is Rogue winning, not with the play style we're used to seeing, Artosis.
That's right.
He is definitely adapting to how we know SoO.
Well, this
I don't even just mean the fact that SoO occasionally, well, oftentimes chokes in finals, but SoO is known for being a pretty well-rounded Zerg. He doesn't usually lose to rushes ever. Rogue is somebody who's known for going to late game. This time around, Rogue avoiding late game.
Well, the mind games,
face immediately.
The mind games are really a big part of this right now. Does SoO start kind of blind countering this? Does he get aggressive to counteract this as well? I feel like that rush happening again gives Rogue a little bit of an advantage. He's shown that he's willing to do the same strategy over and over and over. So as SoO, you don't want to lose to that too many times. If you end up losing 4 games in a best of 7 and the World Championship Finals to the same strategy each time, I mean, that is a mental blow all in of itself.
I want to point something out, Artosis. This is food for thought. SoO may be the best player in the world at a best of 5, and just not that in a best of 7. You had to play best of 5 to get to the finals. It's like there's just enough games to adapt to him.
Yep.
I don't know if it's going to be like that this time around. We're going to find out. Guys, let's get hyped. We're going into the next game of SoO versus Rogue as we get closer and closer to finding the greatest Starcraft 2 player in the world. In the bottom right, in the blue, trying to overcome his curse. Make some noise for SoO! the last player to squeak into the final section of the WCS Global Finals. He is Rogue!
SoO is not screwing around this time. This is straight up a Zergling rush. Before any Overlords being produced, going directly into the gas, directly into the spawning pool. He is going to be attacking all out and early on.
Rogue, on the other hand, going for a quick hatchery. This could be problematic because this pool is already done. The Queens and the Lings are now starting. Let's see what Rogue is ready for here. His pool is starting later than the Lings for SoO began, so I can't emphasize the difference in text here.
Yeah, the actual attack, though, probably will not come in until that Zergling speed is done.
That's right.
Once he hits that Zergling speed upgrade, though, he should be going all out. He's mining a lot of gas as well, which points towards a Baneling nest. SoO should be able to get some damage done against Rogue, but will it be enough to straight up win the game? Will it be enough to just make it even?
Lings now gathering up. He wants to wait for the right moment. Note these 4 Lings going around. Banelings are not as fast as Zerglings, so he has to park these somewhere, hidden in a location that, well, A, obviously they can't be found, but also that they have quick access to meet up in the attack. SoO then pooling more and more and more Zerglings. Rogue, with really a very traditional orthodox ZVZ opening, he has to brace for impact.
He is making a few Lings of his own, getting his own speed upgrade as well as a couple Queens. Of course, those Queens are going to be such an important part of his defense here. The Zerglings continuing to rally out from SoO. He's avoiding all the Overlords, trying to hide what's going on. Rogue doesn't know yet, but is adding his own Baneling nest, which is going to be crucial.
Lings now coming out. He shows just those 2. Ling speed has been revealed as well. The Baneling's nest has just started. SoO gearing up for this attack. Let's find out if Rogue is ready. Lings on the outside, Queens at the ramp.
Here we go, the Zerglings getting in on top of this expansion. 1 drone already falling. Slow Zerglings and 2 Queens blocking the ramp. The Banelings coming up right now. Some great connections. SoO trying to break through Rogue's Queens.
SoO now hitting the Queen so hard. 1 is about to go down, but a transfuse manages to save it in time. The Queen in the upper left is taken out, breaching the wall. The Banelings yet to detonate are going for the drones.
SoO simply has more Lings right now coming up with these Banelings. 1 gets picked up. He's going after the drones, but no Banelings connect. The drones fighting with this Queen. The Queen staying alive as long as possible, and a spine finishes.
The hatchery at the bottom is naked, but it looks like Rogue may have enough Lings to come out here and drive SoO away. SoO pushing those Lings back up, but a Baneling here from Rogue is going to help him defend.
If he can continue to defend this, he'll have more drones and a hatchery. 2 things SoO simply does not have. SoO has to keep the aggression on. SoO has to do more damage than he's done so far.
The Lings now chasing away the few Lings of Rogue. Rogue looking for any Baneling assassinations he could get. SoO immediately turns around with a surround, driving them back up the ramp. The Lings here, I'm sorry, Banelings of SoO going up the ramp are taken out by the Queen. Oh, a great, good detonate. Not great, he still has 1 Baneling making. This hatchery getting very low, but Rogue scrambling to maintain control on the low ground.
If Rogue can hold on to this hatchery, SoO is in so much trouble. The Banelings coming down, zoning out these Zerglings. A huge connection from Rogue, and he continues to push back everything SoO brings at him.
Rogue may be stabilizing, but this hatchery is low enough. If a few more Link snipes can get it, it will be taken out.
A lot of Banelings being produced for Rogue. He realizes that all he needs to do is hold on at this moment. SoO definitely in some trouble, but still trying to mount an offense.
Rogue looking to loop around here. Sometimes this is the best play when you have somebody who's parking outside of your base, camping and pulling more units. But SoO with good instincts identifies that and turns around.
Now SoO is in a tough spot right here. Maybe he can get some good Baneling connections, maybe a bit more harassment, but Rogue has stabilized. He's had more drones for longer. He has a spine crawler up, that extra hatchery a lot earlier. SoO has to make something special happen if he's going to win this game.
You can see SoO trying to get some of these Banelings to detonate. so they don't have the ideal amount of damage distributed. This is a lot, Artosis. 4 Banelings. The Ling number may be small, but the amount of damage these Banes can do is absolutely huge.
Those 4 Banes coming up the ramp right now. SoO without much left over. Those drones can be killed so quickly. A big drone split coming down right now. The Banelings looking for a solid connection. Gets 4 drones. That's a start at least.
This one Baneling unable to do really much of anything since it's 2 Banelings to kill a drone. SoO right now at 16 workers to 34. Rogue has so many options available. Had that hatchery been taken out, had he lost more workers, it would have been a different story.
Yeah, Rogue just on fire right now. He's getting his lair, evolution chamber, roach ward, he's making Banes. He has way more drones. All SoO has is another attack incoming. If he can't get damage done now, this game is all but over.
But you see how many Banelings Rogue is making. He knows he simply has to survive for the next few minutes to cement his victory.
All right, here come the Banelings from SoO, marching forward 2 by 2, going into that spine. Don't quite kill it though. And with these queens in the front as well as a couple Banes, SoO's offense is already held.
It looks like the Lynx are unable to really get anything done. Brilliant hold here by Rogue. And I just don't see any options, Artosis. I don't know where really SoO can take this game.
Well, SoO just continues to produce Zerglings over and over again. He's stuck in this portion of the game. He has to kill Rogue. Rogue has over twice as many drones. His economy is so strong, and that is it.
GG! Amazing game. Rogue able to hold that aggression. SoO, I think, coming in there with a good plan, but Rogue with the right control able to stabilize. The elasticity of that defense there from Rogue, very impressive. SoO, rather than trying to go back, play an economic game and recover, doubles down with a second attack that Rogue even more handedly holds off.
Well, I think this all comes down to those mind games that Rogue is playing, utilizing his own Zergling attacks over and over again. SoO getting sick of it and trying to kill him, but Rogue's defense just tip-top. Beautifully held, and now for the first time, he is in the lead of this series and on match point.
Is it going to happen again? Will history repeat itself? Rogue is so close to becoming the WCS Global Champion. If SoO can break his curse, he has to win this game and the next. We've had 2 very aggressive games in a row. Before that, it was an incredibly long macro game, a lot of mind games going on. I'm not sure what direction SoO wants to take this. Rogue obviously feeling a little bit safe. He has some more wiggle room coming into this.
Well, in the next 2 games, if he can pick one up, that is it. He is the world champion. A crazy thing, if you would have told any of us at the beginning of the year that Rogue would be up match point at BlizzCon, we probably wouldn't believe you. But if you told us it was against SoO, we might.
We are now going in to the next game in this best of 7. This is SoO versus Rogue. We are so much closer, Artosis, to finding out who is truly the greatest Starcraft 2 player in the world. Let's see if SoO can make that comeback, or if Rogue keeps the ball rolling. In the upper right, in the blue, he is SoO! And his opponent down here in the bottom left with 1 win away. Make some noise for Rogue!
Can Rogue pick up a victory here? Can he become the world champion right now? It's a possibility. This is kind of a crazy map, though. Acolyte has 3 very easy to take bases. The one that we see both of them taken right away, and this back natural that is super hard to attack.
Yeah, this is a funny map. This map makes for games that are just not really like anything else. The distance, if you look at the mini-map, is just huge from the 2 locations. As Artosis was saying, there's a free expansion in the back of your base. So a lot of times you get 3 bases for free. Now, ZVZ does have some parameters that make it a little bit different. You can still kill somebody right away, but unless you're super aggressive, I would expect this to be a long ZVZ. Now, when we think long games, who does it favor, Artosis?
Well, generally Rogue. And I mean, looking at this, his mind games have won out. He has gone for a double hatchery before his spawning pool, whereas SoO has gone for that spawning pool in between his double hatchery. So a slight edge as far as that's concerned towards Rogue, but definitely not enough to decide this series yet.
Drones now being transferred, synced up here with the hatchery. We want to see in a game where you get 3 bases right away, that are very easy to defend. By the way, the reason why they're easy to defend is because there's really only one point of access. In this case, it's over here, being highlighted right there. As long as Rogue can defend that, SoO can't get in there. Get in there. And the same is true here for SoO. So, unlike many of the games we've seen before, where it's high action, Lings and Banelings coming in, this game should be one that allows players to develop up the tech tree.
Sure, yeah, and this is very interesting from SoO, by the way. He's playing a safe game, right? You went hatchery, got his spawning pool earlier than Rogue did in a defensive manner. Now he's getting a spine crawler, but no gases quite yet, which should mean that he is kind of banking up his minerals a bit more. We'll see a bunch of gas taken at once, and I mean, probably into a lot of roaches.
Yeah, you would assume so. It's definitely a safe tech pattern to take here. You can do roaches that are just mainly to function as defense, and then there are moments where you actually want to use them in an offensive way to try to control the map. You can have timings where you want to come in with a big roach army and actually smash them, or you could have moments where you want to use roaches hidden around the map, try to come in different locations and take workers out and keep them pinned into their base.
We'll see momentarily here what route that they want to go down. Both players adding some gases finally. Nice scout here by SoO, seeing these gases added at the natural of Rogue. The easiest place for him to scout.
He does see just a few numbers of drones there, but see, as you were saying, Artosis with the gases being taken there. Also, Rogue's spying on this extractor area over here. You really want to try to monitor how many gases they're taking, because that usually can give you a read on what tech or how much of a tech they're going to go for.
And both of them actually kind of hiding their gas tech in different ways. Rogue throwing down 2 at his front natural where it's easier to scout. SoO putting all of his in the hardest to scout places. Of course, people won't play without gas forever because, well, then you don't get any good units.
That's right. The one link coming up here now for Rogue does get a nice little scout off over here. We see an Evo chamber now going down on both sides. Rogue's obviously a little bit ahead. And this is actually sizing up to be a pretty solid, standard ZVZ macro game.
It's definitely looking that way. Their layers well lined up, as you say. Those roach horns will be finishing up. Some upgrades starting as well. Does everyone just go right into roaches? I mean, you can add other techs here as well. We've seen a lot of lurker play or attempted lurker play coming out of Rogue. And of course, even some mutas once he got up to that layer.
With missile attack coming up here, it seems so far to be, again, that mirrored play. Conservative approaches here as well, where they're both walling in the entrances to their bases. And it looks like Rogue is now going to set up to do a full-on scout and get confirmation on what his opponent's doing.
So right now, both sides adding on roaches, the roach speed, the +1 ranged attack. Some more evolution chambers going down as well. If your opponent is playing really greedy and getting those extra upgrades, well, you better get those upgrades as well if you can't kill them immediately.
So some scouting is going on down here. I guess the real question now is, will we see a 4th base, and where will it be taken? There's 2 options that are realistic here. There's one over here, assuming that we're from Rogue's perspective. The other, more in the center, is also an option. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. Some allow your main to be more accessible to counters, whereas others, it's harder for them to get around to hit that base from a corner.
Well, both sides just showing how different of players they really are. SoO taking that pocket expansion, whereas Rogue takes the one down the hill there that you were pointing out. In the meantime, that Lurker Den once again coming up from Rogue, while SoO goes for a Spire.
So, the Overseer is slowly chased out. That Spire, as you were saying, Artosis, it's about halfway done. And they're really gearing up to have almost all the different tools at their disposal. One player going for that air tech to have that option. Rogue, and we've seen this in previous games, even in this series, he really prefers to have the Lurker Hydra tech. He likes to push a Zerg.
Yeah. And I mean, with those lurkers in position, it's very hard to kill Rogue. A player who, as the game goes longer, simply gets stronger. So definitely does behoove him to get into that tech.
But you know, let's not forget the game we saw the similar tech patterns for these 2 guys before. It was actually SoO who came out with a victory. SoO used the Mutalisks just well enough to scout, deny, and then set up a really good timing attack, and it really nullified the raw strength of Hydra Roach.
Right now, the first real scuffle of the game right there. 1 or 2 roaches fall, that's about it. Both these players giving each other so much credit, just staying back, realizing, I can't attack right now. My opponent is doing basically the same thing as me.
We have SoO now coming down. He's got to be careful. Rogue definitely has more roaches. And if you don't retreat at the exact right moment, you'll get a few roaches shaved off. That begins to add up if you make that mistake over and over. Supplies right now, 153 to 173. Rogue rapidly approaching maxing out, and now fully entering that lurker tech.
Well, it looks like SoO is going to go into lurker tech as well, but a little bit later than his opponent here. So both sides going into kind of a turtled game. Now, will we see both sides also go up to Hive Tech, try to get out things like Vipers, possibly go into a Greater Spire? Or will we see, like from SoO previously in a game like this, just bludgeoning, ramming all your roaches everywhere, trying to win right away?
I don't know, man. We do have a, I believe, is he going to go for a drop over here? Yes, he is. And this could trigger the full-on attack from Rogue. So the technique being used is to put a few roaches in an obscure but important part of your opponent's base. Most likely it's going to be the free base back here. This will pull some of SoO's army back to try to defend. If SoO doesn't calculate perfectly, then Rogue will have a battering ram attack coming in here that could do a ton of damage. And while that's all happening, we also see Rogue attacking again.
Kind of interesting to see Rogue dropping this. He doesn't get any army in position, so it looks like he's probably just going to trade off these roaches, do whatever damage he can, but eventually, as you get later in the game, the roach loses value. They can't really attack into masses of lurkers. As that tech tree goes up and up, the roaches do less and less.
The roaches now coming up here. We see SoO trying to gear up to defend. The angle here good for SoO, but the numbers very good for Rogue. The lurkers now moving forward along with some hydras, but SoO burrowing so many lurkers, there's no way Rogue can engage this position.
A ton of lurkers on both sides. Finally, those roaches in the back getting cleaned up. Rogue continuing to try to push, but he is in the territory of SoO, and with this many lurkers, I can't imagine him being broken.
Notice that beautiful arced defense there. Really no way for Rogue to favorably engage without eating so many lurker spines it wouldn't make sense.
Nice pull back there by Rogue. He poked, he prodded, he tried to get damage done, but SoO denied it the entire time. And now both players getting up into this Hive Tech. Could definitely see some Vipers coming out, and it looks like Rogue adding 2 Spires wants to get some air units and upgrades.
Very Rogue-ish
yes.
for him in this game. Always going for that higher tech.
Oh,
going
no,
for
totally.
that ultimate Zerg composition, ultimate Zerg tech tree, all the upgrades, you name it, everything. Is SoO going to try to come in here with some kind of timing? This map is shaped in such a way, I don't really see an easy opening for him to do that. He does have a lot of lurkers, but I do also feel like if he moves out with him, it opens up areas where Rogue can then counterattack into him.
All right, the ultimate tech coming all over the place. All the upgrades being researched. I am loving it. This is so Rogue. I mean, you BlizzCon folks thought that Rogues like to be stealth and pick locks, but no, they like late game Zerg.
We have another drop coming up here right now. Going for, just to interrupt the drone mining. It's interesting, Artosis, we see Rogue coming in with drops, but not committing to any kind of full-on engage.
Yeah.
He really just wants to free up supply. Roaches don't give you a lot of edge in a super, super late game. So he's in some ways throwing them away, but doing it in a way that at least he gets something out of it. He can try to kill some drones.
Absolutely. Maybe you'll get a queen, you get some of the static D, you force his units back, but he does not want these roaches. He's bleeding them off, getting these great tech units, and we're about to get into a very technical game from both sides. We see Vipers coming up, and Vipers will generally kind of like kite around. You'll have a lot of spores, a lot of spines, just static defense moving around the map. Well, for Zerg, it's partially static at least. And Abduct can be such a strong spell in a situation like this.
Absolutely. Abduct is the big disarming ability for somebody who's trying to turtle up. You could start harpooning those lurkers out, picking them off, and eventually shredding them. And this is pretty cool, a big lurker drop here. This is actually much harder to kill off than simply put 4 roaches.
Well, the Roaches have a hard time against lurkers. They start killing off some drones. You have to bring over detection. Just very annoying stuff going on here from Rogue. So keeping on top of SoO, but none of the damage that we see from him is messing up SoO too much.
That's right. SoO is just slowly getting chipped away at, but I wouldn't say it's going to put him in any position where he could lose this. I will say, though, Rogue is growing at a kind of scary radar, Tosis. We see the bottom right now being taken. I don't see any openings for SoO to get down there. This map could very easily be diagonally cut in half.
Yeah, that is very true. And you know what I'm a little bit worried about here for SoO isn't just that second place curse, but the fact that this is the area that Rogue plays a lot of his games and he has so much experience. You can see him expanding a little bit quicker, getting all his upgrades just a little bit quicker, and utilizing some cool moves like these drops.
Okay, with the upgrades trucking along, a big drop finally. SoO might not be prepared for this. Rogue, he has one attack coming in over here. I think this might have been an ill-timed attack since it looks like, no, excuse me, that actually will get broke down. He will get those workers in an amazing play. But with the drop set up, he could come in here, hit this free base in the back, then use a small number of roaches now with Burrow to try to assault various areas. SoO seems to be shifting his attention over to the center left. That's exactly where this drop is not going to be.
Oh, what a masterful move by Rogue to lure this entire army over. And now with the Burrow movement, Roaches moving towards the natural and a giant drop towards the back natural. A lot of damage could be dealt.
Going for the Roach War, and it will go down. The key tech structure in a game like this has now been taken out. Meanwhile, Roach is spilling into the back. Rogue's drones trying to, SoO's drones trying to evacuate.
Oh, it looks like he wants to kill more tech here. Going after the Hive, it takes a long time to replace that, but the army of SoO comes up. Can he save this Hive? A ton of damage being put on it.
It's getting closer and closer to zero. He's trying to shimmy over to the left, and barely SoO saves it.
Oh, splitting up a lot of these Roaches, though. They've killed that back expansion. The damage is being dealt. All very worthwhile here for Rogue, but SoO does weather the storm.
SoO seems to, although he survived, not be in any kind of position where I think he can, really pull it around here. Rogue getting further and further and further ahead.
Okay, Broodlords are being made right now by Rogue. This is what he traded his supply in for. Notice he also has his own Vipers. This is going to turn into a war of those Vipers. Can the Abducts land on these Broodlords, or will he counter-abduct the Vipers?
We're gonna find out in a second. The Broodlords getting ready to push up. Roaches everywhere on the map, he's hitting them. Trying to get that Hive once again. Looks like he will be able to save that with that ability. Actually, excuse me, no he's not. No he's not.
Me?
I didn't think it was gonna work.
Oh!
It goes down. I thought in that amount of time, surely the Roaches would get back there. I was wrong. Beautiful play. That resets everything. Any tech structure from here on out that's taken out, he will have to get back to Hive to retrieve that.
The most crucial thing, he can't build more Vipers. The key unit for taking down these Broodlords. So now we have Rogue at a big advantage. Can he close it out? Will he attempt to move across the map and close it out?
We're about to possibly see one of the most technical takedowns in ZVZ history here, as he is gearing up for a huge assault that SoO just may not have the tools to deal with. I think the only thing that SoO can really try to do is constantly counter, constantly try to engage in locations that Rogue really just has to respect.
A gigantic amount of Broodlords being created for Rogue. Even if the Abducts land, he'll have a lot of Broodlords left over, and those Broodlords will do fantastically against ground units. Hydras have a very hard time getting up there. Look at all these infestors. The fungal growths going down, holding everything still. Rogue's army is so fearsome.
Okay, we see the push coming out now for Rogue. Will SoO have the finesse to try to make it turn around? Rogue definitely has static defense. Because he knows this is really the only thing that his opponent can do to stop this impending push that may knock his opponent out of the game.
All right, a little counterattack coming out from SoO, sending some Hydras down, sending some Lurkers down, trying to do some damage and keep Rogue busy. Rogue is actually turning around right into the area that these Roaches are hitting. At least SoO is keeping Rogue busy.
Not just there, but also down at this base at the bottom. The hatchery getting very low. He could take this out. Meanwhile, SoO is being driven back out by the Broodlords of Rogue. We have to ask ourselves, is Rogue making a mistake here by going for such a sluggish army composition? While it is so high-tech and advanced and dangerous, it also can't necessarily get over to SoO's side of the map to actually kill him off.
It's a really good point, Tasteless. When you gain power, you lose speed, you lose mobility, but that's still what SoO has. He is all over the place right now, trying to get these little bits of damage done, and to be honest, it's working out pretty well.
He's continuing to counter. Rogue may actually just full-on commit. The Broodlords may be too far across the map to have them turn around. He's going for it. Is SoO going to be ready? He's gearing up with these Hydras. The rock's still in the way.
Oh, we're going to need to see some great abducts here. Those infestors burrowing around under the ground, so scary. If we see Fungals going down on the Hydras, that will hurt so much. The Broodlords starting to get through the rocks. SoO knows it's coming. He must hold. Here we go. The Broodlords starting to peg down on these spine crawlers. SoO backing up for the moment.
He's coming in. He's chiseling away. You can see SoO trying to stay back, looking for the possible opening. When he engages, he has to make sure it works. Here it comes now!
Oh, a huge fungal going down on these corruptors. Chain fungal continues to land. A lot of damage being dealt. Parasitic bombs all over the Broodlords.
We see SoO's supply getting lower and lower. The fungals continuing to chain. The Broodlords push forward as his base goes down.
These Hydras dealing so much damage to the anti-air of SoO. He loses his base and must withdraw from the area. More corruptors on the way. SoO is going to have to keep on making these units, remove these Broodlords, and somehow deal with the ground army of Rogue.
SoO pulling further and further back into his remaining bases. Rogue has no intention of turning around. He's continuing to push forward, hoping to divide the upper left and upper right bases in half.
Great moves with these Broodlords right now, picking off some lurkers so his Hydras can come forward. So much damage being dealt. Rogue very patient with this, but a huge amount of Corruptors comes in.
Corruptors coming from 180 degrees. He's trying to hold on. He's trying to deny this. We have infested Terrans coming up, trying to gun them down from the sky.
But he does remove all those Broodlords. The infested Terrans adding a lot of health, adding a lot of damage here. But SoO somehow holding on throughout all of this.
SoO surviving a little bit longer, but Rogue isn't done yet. But SoO once again coming in here trying to deny any more Broodlords or anything else that could try to come in here. Sorry, Overseers, excuse me, they're trying to come in here and help him defend.
SoO right now adding a lot of lurkers into his army. He needs a strong ground force. Rogue with only ground units at this point. These Corruptors picking off the detection. That means his lurkers won't be seen.
He's gonna survive for a little bit longer. He's just hanging on. Rogue, though, eager to push in. The other Overseer does come in again. The Lurker's beginning to be gunned down, but the Corruptor is taken out once more.
SoO with a magical hold right here, knocking out the detection time and time again. But the army of Rogue continues to rally across the map. His economy is so strong right now, and his supply much superior to SoO's.
Rogue getting closer and closer to getting towards the remain. The Lurkers now being gunned down. There's too much. There's too many. There's no stopping Rogue now.
Rogue going up into the natural here, killing off one of the last areas of SoO.
GG! He has done it. Rogue is your 2017 WCS World Champion.
Barely qualifying at the last moment for the World Finals. Rogue has gone all the way, defeating SoO, the cursed second place finisher amongst all StarCraft players, amongst all esports in this finals in a very epic fashion.
One more time, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for your champion, Rogue!
Congratulations, Rogue. You've had a phenomenal past few months. IEM GSL Super Tournament, but today, when it matters most at the biggest event of the year, you are the WCS Global Champion. 일단 이병렬 선수 축하드리고요. 지난 3-4달 동안 정말 훌륭한 성적을 거뒀는데 IEM 그리고 GSL 슈퍼 토너먼트 우승. 하지만 오늘은 가장 중요한 대회에서 블리츠콘 우승자가 되었어요. 우승한 첫 소감 얘기해주세요.
일단 정말 우승할지 진짜 생각도 못했는데 어제 진짜 우승하는 생각을 되게 많이 했는데 그때마다 되게 긴장이 돼가지고 그냥 아예 그런 생각을 안 했어요. 근데 이렇게 막상 우승하고 보니까 너무 행복해요.
So he says, when it came to this event, I didn't even think I actually had a chance of becoming the champion. Yesterday, there were quite a few times when I thought about what it would be like to actually win BlizzCon. But every time I thought about it, I got so nervous. So I told myself, let's not think about it. But not thinking about it, I think it paid off because that's how I was able to become the champion today. And now, Rogue, you've had such a phenomenal 2017, 3 titles. Moving into 2018, what can we expect from you? 2017년에는 3번이나 우승자가 되었고 2018년에는 이병렬 선수의 어떤 모습을 기대할 수 있을까요?
일단 2017년 후반 때 정말 열심히 노력했고 노력하니까 역시 확실히 이렇게 성적도 내는 것 같아서 내년에도 올해 후반 때처럼 열심히 해서 이제 느낌을 아니까 우승 또 할 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
So he says, in the latter half of 2017, I seriously worked so hard and I could see that the fruits of my efforts paid off. I was able to win so many championships. And so now that I've done it before, moving into 2018, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to work really, really hard now that I know how it works. And I'm going to make sure to become a champion once again next year. And now, last but not least, Rogue, you've been a champion in Korea, in China, and now today, you are a champion here in America. Please a word to all the fans here in front of you. 마지막으로 한국, 중국에서 우승을 했지만 미국에서 우승한 건 처음이에요. 이 많은 팬들을 위해서 한마디만 해주세요.
일단 오늘 이렇게 많은 팬분들이 와주셔서 깜짝 놀랐고 너무 그래도 이제 GSL에서 우승을 못 해봤으니까 GSL도 한국 팬 선수들이 있을 때 우승할 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
So he says, honestly, I didn't expect so many people to show up, so I was really surprised and so happy to see that. And guys, all that I have left is GSL. So at a GSL that's full of stacked, talented Korean players, I'm going to ensure to be a champion there as well. So congratulations again. You have it. The WCS Global Champion of 2017 is Rogue.
A phenomenal finish to an amazing year, your champion, Rogue.